When we think about war, it's easy to get lost in numbers, in soldiers, and weapons. But Chapter 10 of Sun Tzu's masterpiece brings us back to something far more fundamental, the very ground under our feet. This isn't just theory. We're talking about the cold, hard, physical realities of strategy. Okay, let's dive into this.
Just think about what this really means. Before you even think about the enemy, before you count your own troops, you have to become a student of the landscape. The mountains, the rivers, the plains, they aren't just a backdrop for the battle. They are an active player. They can be your best ally or your deadliest enemy. And to ignore them is to basically guarantee disaster.
So, in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 crucial pillars of this chapter. We'll start with the 6 types of terrain you'll face. Then, the 6 fatal mistakes that come from a general's own shortcomings. After that, we'll look at what makes a commander the jewel of the kingdom. We'll cover the serious danger of what Sun Tzu calls the halfway victory. And finally, how to achieve complete victory through total, uncompromising knowledge.
Our first stop is the absolute foundation of any strategy, the physical world itself. Sun Tzu breaks the world down into 6 different types of terrain. And you know what? Each one comes with its own set of non-negotiable rules. If you want to win, you have to master these first.
So these are the 6 battlegrounds: accessible, entangling, temporizing, narrow passes, precipitous heights, and positions at a great distance. You can think of each one as its own unique tactical puzzle. And the winner? The winner is simply the commander who solves that puzzle first.
All right, let's start with accessible ground. This is your wide-open field, easy for both sides to move across. The rule here is dead simple: speed. The advantage goes to whoever gets there first and moves the fastest. You want to grab any high, sunny ground for a better view and a better fighting position. But, and this is crucial, you have to guard your supply lines. An army without supplies is already defeated. It's that simple. Now this next one, entangling ground, is basically a trap. It's easy to get into, but it is incredibly hard to get out of. You only, and I mean only, attack on this kind of terrain if you are absolutely sure the enemy is weak and unprepared. Why? Because if you're wrong, if your attack fails, there's no way out. There is no retreat. It's a one-way ticket to getting your army wiped out. And here we have the terrain of pure strategic patience. It's a standoff, a deadlock where whoever moves first loses. So, what do? You do nothing. You resist that temptation to charge in. You don't take the enemy's bait. Instead, you create your own trap. You fake a retreat. You lure them out of their strong position, and then you hit them. You use their own aggression against them.
Think of narrow passes as the choke points of the battlefield, the gateways. If you can get to one first, you hold all the power. Fortify it, and a small group can hold off a huge army. But what if the enemy gets there first? Sun Tzu is very clear about this. Do not attack a well-defended pass. It is a suicide mission. The only time you even consider it is if their defense is sloppy and weak.
More than anything else, high ground gives you dominance. It's as simple as that. If you're on top of the heights, you make the rules. The enemy has to fight an exhausting, demoralizing battle just to get to you. Now, if they have the high ground, the rule is absolute. You don't engage. You pull back. You lure them down from their strong position and make them fight on ground that you choose. This is such a key insight. You might look at 2 armies on a map and say they're equal strength. But Sun Tzu tells us that distance makes that an illusion. A long march just drains an army of its strength and its will to fight. So marching a long way to fight an enemy of the same size who's fresh and waiting for you, that's just willingly giving up your advantage before the fight even starts. It's a strategic disaster.
Okay, so we've covered the external battlefield, the terrain. Now Sun Tzu makes this brilliant pivot. He turns inward, from the world outside to the battlefield inside a general's mind. He outlines 6 calamities, 6 surefire paths to defeat that don't come from the landscape, but from the fatal flaws of a leader.
And what this shows so clearly is that defeat is almost always self-inflicted. I mean, look at the direct line from the cause to the consequence. Flight comes from reckless math, throwing a small army at a big one. Insubordination comes from an imbalance of power. Collapse is the opposite imbalance. Ruin is when egos at the top run wild. Disorganization happens when the general is weak and his orders are a mess. And rout? That's just a fundamental failure to understand your enemy. These aren't bad luck, they are failures of command. So, after showing us exactly how to fail, Sun Tzu then gives us the blueprint for the ideal commander. What are the qualities that take a leader from being just a general to being what he calls the jewel of the kingdom?
This, right here, is the very core of what it means to be a master leader. It's not about ego. It's not about glory or trying to avoid looking bad. It's about having one single focus: protecting your people and your country. The leader who can push forward to win without needing the fame, and, maybe even more importantly, who can retreat to save his troops without fearing disgrace, that person is the most valuable asset a nation can have.
And Sun Tzu draws a razor-sharp line here. A great leader treats his soldiers like his own children. That real, genuine care creates a loyalty so deep they will literally follow him to their deaths. But, and this is the key, that's not weakness. An indulgent leader, one who's kind but can't enforce discipline, just creates an army of spoiled children, and they're totally useless when things get real. True leadership, true care, is providing the discipline needed to survive and win.
So, you have a disciplined army, you're a selfless leader, that's it, right? You're all set for victory? Sun Tzu's answer is a hard no. Without a complete, total understanding of the whole situation, you're really just gambling. And this is what he calls the peril of incomplete knowledge.
See, victory rests on 3 pillars. First, you have to know your own forces are ready to fight. Second, you have to know the enemy is vulnerable. And third, you have to know the terrain actually allows for a battle. If you know your men are ready, but you don't know the enemy is also ready for you, you've only gone halfway to victory. If you know the enemy is weak, but your own men aren't prepared, again, only halfway. And even if you know both of those things, but you don't realize the ground makes fighting impossible, you are still only halfway there.
And this brings us to the grand finale, the principle that ties it all together. How do you get past that dangerous halfway point to a state of understanding that pretty much guarantees victory? This is Sun Tzu's final layer for the master strategist.
He starts with his most famous words of all. First, know the enemy. Understand everything about them, their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits. Second, know yourself. Be brutally honest about your own army's capabilities and its limits. If you know just these 2 things, he says, your victory won't be in doubt. But there is one final step to make it absolute.
This is the last piece of the puzzle, the ultimate force multiplier. Heaven means the conditions you can't control, the weather, the time of day, the larger circumstances. Earth, of course, is the terrain we just talked about. So to know yourself and your enemy means you won't be easily defeated. But to know yourself, your enemy, the ground under your feet, and the timing, that, he says, is how you make your victory complete.
And so, this ancient military wisdom travels through time to ask every single one of us a deeply personal question. In our own challenges, our own strategies, in our careers, in our lives, have we actually done the work? Have we really assessed the ground we're standing on, the nature of the opposition we're facing, and maybe most importantly, our own true strengths and weaknesses? Because only with that total, complete knowledge can we ever hope to achieve a truly complete victory.